We stay on our grind, aiming high like diamonds. We shine, inspiring the mass through motivation and elevation. Breaking down all classes, teaching reaching. We can show you never fall with a helping hand. We rise from the crawl, from the bottom to the top. Never be stopped. Say no to doubt, say no to fear. Pushing boundaries, making it clear. You've got the power, you're a pioneer. Unstoppable in control, have no fear. Adonis finest, oh. We're on a mission, breaking molds, creating waves, no inhibition. We're the podcast that's here to inspire. With our words, we'll set your dreams on fire. Adonis finest.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen, Andre Goolsby back at you once again for another exciting podcast with Adonis Finest. As most of you all know, Adonis Finest represents some of the most extraordinary people that exist on the planet, and they're my friends. It's my world. So I have known the brothers Hodge for quite some time. Actually, Makis was actually my boss for a while there.
Hero support.
Oh, right, he hates that. Hero support. If I was ever late for work, he was my boss, okay?
This is true.
So at Infinity of South Atlanta, and they're both affiliated with the Automotive group, which is the automotive group that all of the dealerships are under that particular umbrella. And Makis, we were talking a little bit earlier. Also, in addition to the Automotive, it's the Tradition.
Yeah. When we moved to New York, the Heritage brand has been our thing since we kind of started here in Atlanta. But just as luck would have it, Dario and I did a Google search a couple of weeks actually before we moved up there, and we found another Heritage Motors, which was a used car dealership. And obviously, when you spend the type of money that we spend branding, you don't want to be competing with with yourself or with somebody else out there in the marketplace.
Right.
So we had to evolve and became the Traditional Automotive Group in the New York area. So,
That makes sense. That makes sense.
A lot of the names that we have at our different stores are regulated by the manufacturers. They have things that they want to see. Like our Volkswagen in Marietta is Volkswagen of Marietta. That's a Volkswagen thing. Our Lexus store, Lexus of North because that's the way those manufacturers run. So we had the unique opportunity with General Motors to put a little bit more of a personalized spin on it.
Nice. So the effect that has in the marketplace is you guys can target.
Yeah, you can target. You can build. Your advertising and marketing campaigns around it.
It's branding.
It's brand awareness.
Yeah,
awareness.
It's a name that's easy to remember.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you both were in New York for a while there.
For a while. Yes.
For a while there. And I know y'all usually travel in twos, right? So Dario, how do you like Atlanta? Welcome back.
It's good to be back. It's a warm day. Get a lot of house fee money. It's just a different breed, man. Family's very happy to be back down south. Being in the cold for so long it plays a toll on you.
And ladies and gentlemen, this palatial estate that we're filming from is Dario's home. So this is the fruits of his labor, and it's always good to have Makis here because I know they are close. But you guys grew up in the car business.
Yeah.
Tell me about the king, your father. Tell me about you coming up in the car business.
Well, let's see. Our dad was, he got into it right after I was born. It was kind of I was probably the reason. Kids become when you have your first child, you realize how expensive they are, and he decided it was time for him to make a career change. And he always did sales, but just didn't really have. He didn't feel that the car business fit his persona, so to speak. Back then, we're talking back in the 70s, right? So it was a totally different type of an industry than what it is now. You talk about the Wild Wild West. It was the Wild Wild West, and he just didn't really feel like his persona fit in with that. But luckily, he was introduced to a gentleman that I actually had the opportunity to work for later on in life, that convinced him that you don't have to be what the typical car salesperson looked like at the time to be successful. You can do things the right way. And I think that was kind of the beginning of it for him, because he had a choice to come into the industry and kind of acquiesce and do everything, do the same thing that everybody else was doing, which wasn't really all that popular with customers, or you can figure out a different way to have the same success. And I think he did that, and that kind of just transitioned with him all the way through. Dario and I, we were, I guess you would kind of call us weirdos, so to speak, right? When we grew up, the teacher would go around the class and say, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Fireman, I want to be a policeman, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor. We didn't want to be any of that shit, right? We wanted to be car salesmen, right? We wanted to be like our dad, because we watched what he did, we watched how hard he worked, we watched what he was able to do for the family. We saw how much time he spent away, but we never, we're not like kids today. Kids today are complaining about, Daddy, you weren't around, Mommy, you weren't around, That's because we got to pay these bills, man, right? And we understood that. Our dad wasn't at every game, our dad wasn't at every event, but when he needed to be there, he was there, right? So he'd take us to play golf with him on the weekends, and we really idolized our dad. It was nothing other than that, but we idolized him, and we chose to try to walk in the same path that he did. We literally grew up in dealerships. I remember being kids. Yeah,
Sleep on his couch.
Dad would have 24-hour sales. We'd take the sleeping bags to the dealership, and we would spend the night at the dealership, with him. So we always were intrigued. I still, I remember the Christmas parties we had every year in the service department and the smells that were associated with that. Something between turkey and grease. Turkey and grease, right? And those things, it was like a family, right? And that was kind of what we liked about it. And we really never really pursued anything else. Everything we did in school was predicated on the fact that we wanted to be car dealers at some point in time in the future. So our class schedules, we worked in the summers, off breaks, and really worked in every department in the dealership. There's not a job in that dealership that neither one of us has done. From the most entry-level positions all the way through. We all work in accounting. Dario's background is heavy accounting. I grew up kind of on the sales side of things, but I was a lot poorer. I washed cars. One of the most defining stories in my career is one day when I was a lot poorer, and my dad said, I always wanted to impress my dad, always, right? So I thought the way to impress him was to get to work early and get everything done that I had to get done that day. So by lunchtime I did, right? And I'm proud of myself. We come back from lunch, and I sit down in the detail bay, and here comes my dad, right? And I start smiling. I'm smiling from ear to ear. I'm so happy. Here comes my dad. I'm about to flex. I'm about to show you dad. You need more workers like me, right? I did my whole day's job in a half a day. Yeah, it didn't go that way.
What did Dad go do with you?
A bunch of superlatives, right? And don't let me ever catch you riding my car. He said, let me explain something to you, son. There is always something to be done.
Wow.
And I said, but I did all the things you told me to do. He said, I don't care. Go make up something. Go find something. But he said, since you can't come up with anything good, I want you to go take this parking lot. And I want you to make sure that you've gotten every cigarette butt out of it. I'm going to walk through it. And when you're done with that, I want every blade of grass out of every crack in the entire dealership. Now, after you get done doing that for the rest of the day in this hot Georgia sun, right? You don't make that mistake again, right? You get it. You get the lesson. And it's always, you remember, right? Stay busy. There's always something to be done. There's of course at work you got to have a little bit of a mental break. You got time to, get you some water, some coffee, socialize with your coworkers and things like that. But we're at work to work, right? We're there to make money. We're there to take care of our customers. So there's no point in time in the day where that doesn't need to be attended to. So, and that kind of guided me, a lot in my career and my thought process. And I obviously never tried that again. Obviously.
I love the integrity that both of you all operate in, and I see where you get it from. and it's such another reason why I wanted you here with Adonis Finest. You two are just two of the most extraordinary young men that I know, and it's because of emulating your father, and he was able to not just walk the talk the talk, but walk the walk. Especially when both of you guys had backgrounds that you could have been doing other things. You both could have been doing other things. You both could have been with other dealer groups. Has the other dealer groups tried to steal you? Like when you were first coming out?
I've been approached several times. I think, again, first son, second son, you learn lessons, right? My dad sent me to work with the Automotive group for a short period of time. What was supposed to be a short period of time. It's supposed to be 3 years. 3 years. They kept me for 6.
It didn't return.
And I had to fight to get out of there. You know what I mean?
Because you were doing a good job.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I like the group, and Mr. Crabtree was another influential person in my development, and I obviously appreciated what he had done for me, so it was no problem for me to try to return the favor. But he didn't make that mistake with Dario because it took up extra time in the process of what we were trying to accomplish. But it turned out to be worthwhile and worth it. So
love that. We talked right before we came out here. We talked a little bit about when you had to be the service manager at your dealership.
Yeah, Dario and I, we've always
We've always tag team things. When we got into that store, I had spent so much time on the desk at the Chevy store, so it was just a natural progression for me. And then we knew we had some deficiencies in the service department, and it was just Makis knew I had the front sewed up, so he just went to the back and just got to work. He did a lot, man. Made a lot of strides back there. Put us on our path. We did some miraculous things with that dealership very fast, which nobody told us we could do.
Up in Geneva.
No, that's the one in Newark. Yeah, we have the Chevy store, and then like a mile down the road is the Ford store.
Okay, all right.
So, we bought it from an owner that had it for forever. It's time for something new. So we were lucky to get it. And when we got it, we took it pretty far, as we could get it. So we were very happy with that.
What do you think the key was, Dario?
I don't know if there was a key. I think it was just different type of intensity. Just different thought process. Certain things that weren't cared about now were cared about. There was no processes at the store whatsoever. There's certain things, no pushes for financing, income, and things like that. So we just had to really just change the whole dynamic. We actually still have one same salesperson that was there selling for the old owner, and he's come around. I'm sure he has all the money he's making there. But, it was just one of those situations where you just had to change the mindset. They gave everything away. They were so ingrained in that community for so long, they thought that's what they had to do. And there's nothing wrong with that, because honestly, that happens. That's a reality in the car business when you don't make changes as you go through. And we just came in and made a little bit of change, just a little bit of uptick, And we were there. We pretty much lived out of that store. We visited the other store very rarely. Every morning we showed up there, most of the time.
we try to make it easy for our employees to make it easy for the customer.
Oh, that's ideal.
Yeah,
That's
make it
ideal.
easy for the employees, make it easy for the customer, and things work.
And both of you, extremely mild mannered. And sometimes people, sometimes people don't get that you guys actually own your stores. You actually own them, and at such young ages. So, but you already said it. At a very young age, you all knew what the end result would be. So you knew you'd be doing what you're doing right now.
Yeah,
I love that.
It was our goal. Just like anywhere, you gotta put together a plan to achieve it, and that's pretty much all we ever did. We didn't. There weren't very many detours. Dario hasn't had any other jobs. I had 2 other jobs, and that was really just to occupy my time. 3. I worked at rallies. I was a telemarketer. That was to help me build my phone skills.
Yes.
Right. And I was in college, and I said, hey, look, I can earn some money and work on my phone skills. Why not do telemarketing? Did that. Shortly right after I came out of college, I went on a tour with Ludacris as a merchandising manager. But other than that, all my time and all my focus and all Dario's time and all his focus has been, trying to attain, the level of success that we've attained so far.
So, Dario, between all of the departments, because I know, as Makis was saying, you've been in the parts department, you've been in sales, you've been through accounting, but which one of those departments, is there any one of those departments that you gravitate to most of all? I know Makis is sales, although he can do all the other, nuances and stuff, but sales is his baby. But
accounting has always been my bread and butter, and I hate that when I moved to New York, I kind of phased myself out of it for obvious reasons. When I moved to New York, I was the sales manager at that store. It was how many years? At least 6 years, at least 5 or 6 years before I actually. I moved my finance manager to sales. Then we had a finance manager, but finally I got off the desk when we brought Jordan aboard. But accounting's always been my thing, like numbers. And I don't know why. Like, if you test me on it, I probably won't test that well. But it just comes down to it. Maybe it's because I taught myself how to be a controller. I can't say I taught myself, because I had a good group of people around me. But Ginger, who was the person ahead of me, she decided she wanted to move to Florida to do her boyfriend. They had been together for some time, and she wanted to make the change. And she was also the one who trained me to go into the payroll. When I did payroll, benefits, and everything for all 4 stores. Back when we did cut checks by hand versus, having the luxury of making a phone call, hitting a couple of keystrokes to get checks cut now. She trained me to be a controller. I had about 1 month and 1 week of training. And at about 18 months of me doing that job, I was like, I know all these repetitious motions. I know how to do it. I know how to make it work. I know how to do it right. I know how to check myself. But how does it flow? How does it flow to a financial statement? What does my job mean? What am I here for? So I started taking the time to actually understand what I was doing, and it just started clicking. And I was able to read the financial statement like the back of my hand. We'd stand up in meetings. They'd be like, "Well, why are we losing money this month?" I was like, "Well, you're up here." I had already done the research. I knew what my boss was looking for. And I just hate I got out of it. I was basically told to sell as many cars as possible, forget that accounting stuff, and I probably should have kept my hands in a little bit more. But now that I'm back here, I found myself getting back involved just for the simple fact that that's how I operate at my desk. And I got all the pieces of paper in front of me, and I can say, hey, why is this off? Hey, why is this off? And I can stay on top of it on a weekly basis. So, not all people that get to me in the cases level can understand that, or they have to get the 30,000 foot level explanation of a financial statement. But do you understand? Like, all the girls in accounting laugh at me because I'll send an invoice, so I'll be like, all right, charge it to 609 for it. They'd be like, who knows that? I'm sorry. It just comes to me.
that's awesome.
So yeah, and that's been my bread and butter. It's just accounting. So I've always loved it and continue to love it.
So how much time, I know you guys, you're brothers, and you're so close. How much time do you actually spend together? Like talking business, talking the car business, talking.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we can talk several times a day, depending on what we got going on or what we got to get done. But we talk quite often. When we were together in New York at the same time, I mean, we'd be at one location together. So it was everything. Until I moved out of the neighborhood, we actually lived across the street from each other. So we're brothers. We're brothers. We just happen to work together. So what else are you gonna do?
I love that. We're brothers. We just happen to work together.
Yeah. When I was looking at this neighborhood too. We might be neighbors again.
Yeah, outside of work, we keep it to a minimum, though, man. You gotta find time to enjoy yourself. I mean, we put a lot of man hours into this. And it's just like you said earlier, it's time to start enjoying the fruits of our labor. I mean, we worked our butts off to get here. I have to say, sometimes it's dealing with kids, sometimes they get advanced faster. It was a little bit different for us. My dad kind of held us back, and it was now that I'm getting older and wiser, I see the purpose. What would I have done with X if I had got it so much earlier? I can tell you, not the right thing. Not the right thing at all. So I appreciate, the fact that he slowed us down the way he did. It was still kind of wonder, where could we have been had we advanced a little bit further. But I'm satisfied. I mean, I was a partner in the dealership at around 34 years old. I was a controller of a major corporation at 24. Like, you don't hear about that too much. Well, I take that back. Back then, you didn't hear about that. Nowadays, it's a little bit more you hear about, because you got a lot of old car dogs that are bringing their kids up in the business. They just stick with the positions. You know, we didn't get stuck anywhere hardly. You know, we pretty much had to earn them. And if we did get stuck there, it was like, you better not fail type of deal. So, you know, that's pretty much it.
I had to fight my way up the sales floor. I mean, he just wouldn't. My dad would never. He's like, I'm not going to promote you. Somebody else is going to have to promote you. You know, and I had to fight my way out of the sales office into the F9 office, and from there on, it was, you know, a little different. But you know, it was nothing was handed. Everything was earned.
That's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. Talking about like trial by fire. But that is the best way to learn. And that's why I have so much respect and admiration for you guys, especially you, Makis. You and I worked together. I mean, we were at Infinity of South Atlanta. I was with you every day. And then, you know, I met Dario, like, when we would do our events, like, on the weekend, and I would see the camaraderie between you all. So I was like, I respect that so much. Here, these young brothers is just coming up, and it ain't like they just showing up. I mean, they know what they're doing. I mean, and it shows in your work ethic, and
I appreciate that. That's a compliment coming from a gentleman like yourself.
Thank you, Makis. I appreciate that. I forgot you don't take compliments too well. I forgot about that. You just try to be a little humble.
I mean, yeah. I'm just like everybody else. You know, I get up and put my pants on just like you. You know, I'm not any different.
That's why
people. A different job.
That's why people love you, Makis. You're so diplomatic. I love it. I love it. People ask about you all the time.
You know, I miss that story. That was I made a lot of transitions in my career, and that was probably one of the toughest ones to leave that team behind. You know, I've left teams in the middle of the night. They come in the next morning and they're like, "Where's Makis?" He's playing. He's gone. You know? But that one was different. But so many great people, so many great customers, and I still keep in touch with a lot of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to Keisha the other day, or earlier today.
Yeah.
Khadijah, Ernest and Taman.
Yeah.
You know, so that was a very good time.
So at the Cadillac store, Dario, you and I just talked just a little bit about that. You guys have some exciting new products.
Yeah, I mean, this new Escalade is just lighting the world on fire. You know, the IQ, obviously the all-electric one, 400 plus miles out of a big SUV on one charge. It's going to be expensive, but a lot of people are really chomping at the bit to try to get their hands on one. Got a nice little order list already put together, but I think more people are going to end up with the gas version, or what we call the ICE version, which is supposed to be getting a retrofit. I guess there's a lot of spy photos out there. We're always the last people to know. You know, customers call us and tell us that we go to the same place they go to figure it out. But I was able to ask the reps, and yes, there is a 25. It's going to get a new interior, and it's supposed to have the sweep and dash that the IQ has, but they're keeping that under wraps. But I know the IQ is coming out first, and I think the ICE version is coming out last, probably beginning of next year sometime. At least that's when they'll start hitting the ground.
Okay. And Makis, anything down the pipeline?
I mean, GM is really pushing hard with electrification. So we're starting to get we've gotten our Blazers in. We've got our first Equinox.
We saw Silverado.
Yep. We're waiting on those to start showing up at the dealerships.
We ordered our first Denali EV.
Yep.
Denali EV.
Yeah. We sold all the Hummers that we've gotten in so far.
They're back.
Yeah. So all the electric Hummers that we've gotten so far. So, I mean, that's the most exciting stuff that GM has coming. I mean, other than the Corvette, that's not an everybody car. That's kind of specialized, but it's a real big push on electrification. Say what you want to say about it.
I was just going to ask you, what I want to hear both of your, and I'm just going to say back. What is both of your things?
I don't know. I hope GM don't see this. I don't know. I mean, it's in our area. Understand something too. The area that we're in is a lot more rural, right?
Okay.
So
the last place to adopt.
Yeah, a lot. Farm country. So the adoption of it, up there is a little different. I mean, we had to put, I mean, golly, the amount of money we had to put into just to be able to put the chargers, the electric upgrades to the dealership to put the chargers at the store.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people aren't willing to do that.
Okay.
You know, and
It's not a money maker at all. It's a shred up the space. They tell you, oh yeah, you'll make all this money and stuff like that. Psh, the demand charges alone, you'll never. Somebody could plug up and charge probably 24/7. You probably still wouldn't catch up to what it costs you. Because the more they're on it, the more you pay.
so in our area,
Mhm.
it's a little different. Now, an area like this, where you've got access to everything, where charging stations are everywhere, you know, it's a totally different market. It's a totally different market. You know, we've had some good success with, you know, we took a little bit of a risk at the Ford store and ordered a ton of electric cars and trucks because that was all we could get at the time. And we've been, you know, steadily working ourselves out of it.
That's when the bottom fell out of the market.
Yeah.
It's like Ford do something, get all the inventory out, and then we're gonna see what dealers do. Unfortunately, it was a nightmare. And any Ford store you talk to is gonna tell you. Imagine the holding costs on those.
Right.
At $100,000 a piece. You know, $100,000 a piece for those pickup trucks and, you know, the Makis. Close enough, round up, right? The Makis are, you know, they're 60, something like that. So they're not as bad as the holding cost, but it's still, you know, it's up in the air. You know what's going to happen. I think the infrastructure really has to change before people can feel comfortable moving into that kind of a format.
Where do you see yourself in EH Automotive, say in the next 10 years? What's the future look like for Makis Hodge, Dario Hodge, and EH Automotive Group, and Tradition Automotive Group, and where are you guys going to be in that time? Makis, you first.
It's a tough question to answer because it's predicated on.
Because you got options.
It's predicated on this gentleman who we revere so much, Mr. Hodge.
Yes.
He's you know, we got our work ethic from him, right? And he's still, you know, at 74 years old, right? Still the captain of the ship, still working very hard, still involved in day-to-day things. You know, very heavily. Much of it by phone now, obviously, but still very, very involved. So, you know, until he retires, we can't go much higher, right? Because that seat's filled, so to speak.
Right.
You know, but we are looking at new opportunities always. You know, we're not opposed to shuffling the deck a little bit. You know, and coming up with some new opportunities. We do have another store that's coming online in the next couple of years in Richmond. Yeah, just outside of Richmond, Mechanicsville. So we're, you know, that's the project that we're focusing on now. But you know, it's just mostly going to be expansion. You know, expansion opportunities. We are looking to grow. You know, there are several manufacturers that we have interest in that we don't have a relationship with, so to speak, a business relationship with, I should say, that we'd like to get into. But really, that's just, you know, that's really all. I'm trying to personally get back here, you know, get back closer to my brother, closer to my family, and you know, do something here in Atlanta. But other than that, you know, we're just anticipating continuing to, you know, achieve the same level of success that we've been doing these last couple of years. We just need more opportunities. And anybody looking to sell your dealership, call us. We're buying.
I was going to say that's kind of real.
Yeah, we're buying.
Dario?
I mean, just to piggyback off what Makis said, I mean, it really just depends on what my dad decides to do. You know, maybe he'll never retire. Maybe he'll just elevate us. You know, we got a COO with honor. Honor's a hell of a job of running my dad's organization.
He has. He was at the dealership the other day.
Well, I was fortunate enough to actually live with Honor when I first moved back to Atlanta. I left the family in New York and lived with him for 3 months. That was a very good time. Very good time. Just to see the dynamic of
Yes.
what I had missed since I was gone.
Yes.
You know, just like Makis said, I think we're going to really put a focus on the stores that need a focus on them. You know, we did certain things within the organization to be poised for greatness, to get everything aligned. Like having a group BDC manager, we're combining accounting offices. Every time someone retires or we lose a controller at one of the stores, we bring the accounting in-house at that used car building that we have across from the McAllen store. So we've been doing that. So we're really just setting up everything to streamline, keep costs down, keep everything going, and as we continue to grow, everything's just plug and play. Like we've got it really set up so when this Kia store in Mechanicsville goes online, it'll be plug and play. Like we'll have everything already in place, BBC, accounting, anything you can think of, we're gonna have it. And it's just a matter of hiring people at that point in time. As a matter of fact, we got a corporate recruiter too. She's been a big help, Danielle. So I mean,
Nice.
we don't have to lift our fingers to hire anybody anymore. It's just like basically, hey, you know, I need a salesperson. She'll go vet the salesperson, do everything she needs to do, and then basically they show up for an interview. But you already know what you're getting before that person even shows up. So which is a blessing because I mean, there's always something being thrown at you on a daily basis. So having that luxury, having all of these luxuries, and not having to deal with them yourself, it's a blessing. So you know, like I said, we're gonna focus on the stores that we need to focus on, and then you know, just acquire more. You know, this Kia store has been a long, drawn-out process. We got awarded the point when construction was at its absolute highest. You know, we used to build dealerships for sub $200 a square foot, and now we're building a dealership that's $485 a square foot. So
Wow.
it just goes to show how things have changed. So
Right.
you have to be a little bit more strategic, but you know, again, we were prepared. We're ahead of all this. So yeah, we're actively searching. We've presented to a few manufacturers. We've come in close numerous times, close second, numerous times. And you know, who knows? Maybe the number one doesn't do it and call us back again. So it's been a lot of good things happening.
Just make sure you stay relevant out there, right? I love this conversation, and my director Royce and I were having a conversation about the kids, and I think you touched on it too, Dario, about kids coming up. You know, they think that they have to be an athlete, an entertainer, in order to make it, because that's where they see that the money is. But just for some of the kids out there who are watching this, and they're watching you all, they're, hey, I want to do that. How can they be down? What do they have to do?
Give it your all. Everybody wants easy money this day and age. You know, I'm really nervous about America's youth right now. I won't get too deep into it, but you know, as I hire the younger generation, I'm having so much trouble with retaining them. And these are good people. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a few outlier employees that I do have that have stuck right in there, and they give it their all, and they are being rewarded for it. But it's tough this day and age. All they want to do is sit behind a computer and make a bunch of money. They don't want to really put in the hours. But that's what it takes in this business. This business isn't the business that you're going to get somewhere by doing the bare minimum. Like even when I was in accounting, like I worked sales hours. My dad used to call me, son, why are you working so hard? I want to be good at it. You know, and that's the intensity that you have to have. Like bringing a young person into being sales, you know, being a salesperson, excuse me. Like everybody thinks fast money. Well, back in the day, it's kind of what it was. But now you actually have to know what you're doing and saying. There's too much competition out there. That, you know, we all got in the car business before the internet took over the business. I mean, that was gravy back then. You know, customer showed up on a lot. What was it? The customer went to like 6 lots before they bought. You just had to give the best presentation. You know, now it's 1.1. I don't know what these .1s come from, but it's like 1.1 dealership that you visit before you buy. And you know, you just got to be good at it. You know, follow your mentors, leadership. Stop trying to do things your own way. Stop trying to buck the system. Get your ass to work on time. You know, that's all it takes. And I've had so many people come to me and it's like, I want to be in management. I'm like, that's not how you get it. Like, if you want to be in the management, get into management. If you work hard enough, people will recognize. But you know, the business is full of so many people that brag about what they make and everything else, and then it gets to that salesperson's head, and now that salesperson is no good to you because they want to be the finance manager, right? Finance manager makes the money, right? Why can't you put me in the finance? I'm going to go somewhere else to put me in finance. I've lost two salespeople this year alone that thought they were ready to go into management, and they just left because they want to go to management, and now they're way off in the middle of nowhere at some store that's just like, yeah, come on, you can do it, yeah, but they're never going to get a shot at a major store because, again, they don't want to put in the grind. We recognize talent. The good talent always gets brought up to the level that they need to be in. Me and Makis did a great job of hiring within for a lot of positions at our stores in New York. You know, we took multiple finance managers, made them sales managers. Took a salesperson, made them finance manager. Took a parts counter person, made them the parts manager. You know, it's been so much that we have done because we recognize the talent. You will get your shot if you have it, but nobody wants to wait. Like, this is a waiting game. Like, me and Makis didn't get to where we got by really fast, you know, and most people's eyes, it was probably really slow, you know, but again, at the ages we were able to accomplish what we did, when you think back, it's not that bad. It's really not, but again, hard work and dedication. There are a lot of people in this business that I meet this day and age that are young, what we call flamethrowers, and they're in their late 20s, and they're making $250,000 a year. Nobody gave them that. They earned it. They hustled. You know, they set goals. I want that Porsche, and now they're driving a Porsche. Got two of them. You know, so that's all it takes. It's just like anything else. Just work hard. You can't go be an athlete and half-ass it.
No.
You know, you ain't gonna play. So why treat this business as different? You know, and it's less wear and tear on anybody. You might work a hell of a lot of hours, but you'll get there. Again, you got to
watch a basketball game last night, and when that guy had played 197 games,
something like that,
before he got his championship. Yeah. I was like, how is he still walking? How is his knees not just shot, blown out, you know, torn up? I mean, that all that stuff's hard on your body. Mm-hmm. You know, the guy, there's 17 seasons in the NBA. What?
No, Horford.
Yeah, nobody does that.
Right.
You see how much I watch basketball. I didn't know his name, but I thought that was interesting.
No, it
17 years. And, you know, that's tough on your body. You know, Dario and I got, you know, over 17 years in it, and obviously, but you know, it's that perseverance that people don't really have. Everybody wants it quick, right? You know, like I know, the customer service is an art, right? It's a skill that's learned. Nobody's a natural, right? You think because I'm the dealer and because I could sell a lot of cars, oh, I must have been a natural. No, I wasn't a natural. As a matter of fact, I sucked when I first started selling cars. I had to be very deliberate in putting in the effort and practicing and learning what I needed to learn to be good at my job. And once I put the effort and the time in, then I could go anywhere and be successful, right? I had a manager named Joe when I was selling Cadillacs, and which was a tough gig for me. I was 18 years old. When I first started selling Cadillacs, I couldn't even sign a buyer's order. I was 17 when I first started selling. I couldn't sign a buyer's order. If you accepted my deal, I had to take it to the manager to sign because my signature was worth nothing, right? So, you know, I had this manager, and I was, I mean, you might not believe, I was shy, right? I wasn't, you know, a lot come up, and up, right? So we call them up, right? Comes up. I didn't want it unless I had to take it, right? That was my personality, but I had to learn how to push myself to get outside of my comfort zones and do things that I'm not necessarily comfortable with if I wanted to be successful. That was the only way, right? And I showed a little bit of promise early on, but I mean, when I came to the business again, veterans, everybody on the floor had been selling cars longer than I've been alive, right? So, you know, in my first day on the floor, I worked with a guy named Emmett. Emmett told me, he said, Makis, I don't care who your daddy is. This is how I feed my family. He says, you are going to get it up under two conditions. I'm going to let you have it, or I already have one. Huh? So, okay, that's what this is, okay? So, and that's literally what it was. And Emmett was dead serious when he said that. He either let me have it, or he had one, right? And I remember one day he let me have one that I hit a big deal on. He was mad. But I put the effort in, and I decided I was going to be successful at this. Obviously, you know, the people along the way help you along the way. Nobody gets there on their own, right? I've worked with hundreds of managers, obviously, but I've had some very influential ones. You know, very early on, I had a guy his name was Joe, and he said, you know, Makis, you're all right. He said, but you can be number one. And I said, really? And just him telling me that, right? Him telling me that, really? I can be number one? Because before that moment in time, I didn't see that as being possible, right? Because all these guys, I mean, they came to work, this is what they did. I want to sell a car today. And I watched them, and they would pull out these boxes, and they would flip through the boxes, they pull out a car and say, here's my guy. They hang up, put the box down, pick the phone, call this person, and that person would show up at the dealership that day and buy a car. I didn't have a box. My box was empty, right? So I had to get it off the lot. But I wanted to be like these guys. He said, you know, just come with me, and I will make you the number one salesperson in 30 days. I said, no way. But I believed in him. He believed in me. It was one of those relationships that worked, right? And sure enough, 30 days later, I moved from the Cadillac store to the Automotive store where, everybody in the sales floor was doing. So now I got a level playing field, right? That first month I was salesman.
Nice.
And every month after that, I'm not going to say every month, but there was very, very few months in the 7 or 8 years that I sold cars after that I was not number one.
Nice.
I mean, there was, I'm embarrassed to say this, but people quit because they worked with me. Because they were like, this guy. My dad called me and said, stop making the sales. Quit. I had to learn the hard way, but it was that dedication, and you have to put people look at the athletes and they look at the rappers, and I'm gonna tell you, rappers probably one of the best. You feel like, oh, there's nothing physical about rap. There's nothing that I've got to do. All I got to do is write some words down. But let me tell you, I know some rappers, and they work just as hard on their craft as I would on mine, or as any professional athlete was. They put in the time. They're always writing rhymes. They're always doing something. And yes, they work out a lot because them shows, right, are tough. They're tough physically. They're tough, demanding. They're demanding on the body. You can't just go out there and rap for 45 minutes, right, and wow the crowd without a lot of preparation. It just does not work. So, our business is no different. If you put in the time, the effort, you're willing, and today's generation, really, a lot of times they want it fast,
yes.
right? I can go to YouTube, right? And I can make some videos, and I can, and if I just keep practicing, right, I can hit 1 million views, and I'm loaded, right? But all the while they're not realizing what they're really saying to themselves. You're saying the same thing I'm telling you, right? If you sit there and work on your craft, you can be successful at it, right? It always takes that. Nothing happens by accident. Nothing happens by chance. It's only purpose. It has to be on purpose, right? The lottery, okay, you might win that, right? Anybody know anybody won the lottery? I don't, right? But I know a lot. I know a lot of people that are successful because they put their time into it. That was one of the things that brought you and I so close together, right? Because you were a student of the craft. You know what I mean? You took what you had done in your previous experience, right? The same type stuff, and you figured out how to make sales yours, and boom, right? Now you're successful at something else. So hard work and dedication, same thing. No secret.
Great stuff, guys. This is why we're here, and I'm so honored, and thank you, Dario, again for inviting the Adonis Finest team to come to your home. This is a very personal touch, and Makis, thank you for being here, and thank you both for being the men that you are, for making the contributions to society. You guys, heavy is the head that wears the crown. You guys, you actually have people's lives in your hands. I mean, they expect a paycheck when they're working. This ain't no, I don't feel like it. I mean, but you've gone through just the path to be able to provide opportunity for other people. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Native American, no color on it, just the people, you're responsible for. And I got so much respect for that. So
that's when people ask me what's my number one job responsibility. My number one job responsibility is to make sure that my people can feed their families and that they can eat, right? If they can feed their families and they can eat, then I can eat. So it's all about them. And by the way, if anybody's looking to get into the business, we believe in it, and we're definitely a training and growth organization. We're an organization where you can come in and learn the things that you need to learn, and we'll assist you along the way and help you get to where you want to get to. You just got to be willing to put it in yourself.
So for those of you, this is going to be national, so for those of you who are around the New Jersey, New York area.
New York, upstate New York area, Atlanta area, obviously, Boston area. We've got maybe even Chantilly, Virginia. We've got a partnership meeting there, Tennessee. Murfreesboro, Tennessee, which is outside of Nashville.
Mechanicsville, next door.
Yeah. Any of these areas where our stores are at, all of our stores have that. We all have that same kind of mentality, to try and develop the people with that. You rarely find the people that you're looking for. It's much easier to try to develop them. And we believe in putting in that effort and making sure that they can achieve their full potential.
Very nice. An African American owned dealer group, ladies and gentlemen. The brothers Hodge, Dario, Makis. Thank you so much for being here and doing what you do. And ladies and gentlemen, another episode of Adonis Finest with some of the most extraordinary people on the planet that we're touching. I'll see you next episode.